Now we want to bring in our two guests, former Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who's been with us as a political analyst during the convention, and Illinois Secretary of State Alexi Giannoulias. Thank you for joining us.
I'm honored to be here.
And thank you always, Mayor. All right, so let's start with the biggest name that's going to speak tonight. And then we have a lot of other things to cover. If I could start with you, Alexi. Okay, so we're talking Tim Walz. We've heard from him before, especially when he first came out as someone that was chosen, and that fiery speech that he gave really seemed to resonate. But what do you think that he needs to do, if anything, differently from what we've already heard from him before?
I think he needs to just continue on the course he was on. You know, I asked my mom, who's apolitical, I always ask her thoughts. She had no idea who Tim Walz was. She watched him on the first night, and she looked at me, she goes, I love him, right? So my mom, who's 79, apolitical, she likes that he's a former high school teacher, a football coach, down to earth. He owns a gun, but he understands we need common sense gun laws. He's folksy, he's real, he's relatable. He's a cross between your dad and your grandfather. My mom loves him. I think he's great, and I think if they can continue to drive home an economic message, you know, we're obviously saving democracy and our ideological differences, but from an economic standpoint, the amount of Americans that are voting against their own self-interest without even realizing it, we need to drive home that economic point from my perspective.
You hit all the great descriptors of him. He's affable, he's avuncular, whatever you want to say, Mayor. You said earlier tonight you think his speech will be more about personality necessarily than policy.
Yeah, he should run on the resume. For all the reasons that the Secretary said, he's got a classic American story. He's a hometown guy, grew up in Nebraska. He's a teacher. He served his country in the National Guard. He's a coach, somebody who sponsored the gay group in the high school. He's just got a solid American story. Run on the resume.
So when Kamala Harris was landing here, you were one of the people that was right there. There was a large contingent, we know. Tony Preckwinkle was there, Dick Durbin. What was that greeting like, and did you have a chance to talk with her about what was going to be going on at the convention?
We mostly spoke about my knee injury, but it was very cool to see her on the tarmac. And I told her, you know, the mayor has one daughter. I've got 4 daughters, and I said, you are inspirational. You were inspirational to me anyway. But I'm going to tell my daughters that I went to the tarmac before you became president. I'm going to fight my tail off to make sure you get elected. She was smiling, to the energy. You can feel the momentum. And it was an honor for me to be on the tarmac. It was exciting, and it's a picture hopefully I'll show my kids and potentially grandkids one day.
Well, we should talk about the elephant in the room, I guess, because we all wondered what happened with the crutches, and let's just get that out of the way, all right? You're getting shredded at the gym, and you shredded your knee.
Yes. Not the best timing, but I shattered my knee, and I'm still here to be with you guys and fight for my party, but it is painful.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your knee, because it's I figured maybe you had done it playing basketball, because we all know you love to play basketball, and this is a connection you have with former President Barack Obama. You used to play basketball with him, but your connection with him started a little before that.
Yeah, so I've known President Obama since I was in high school. We used to play basketball with him. I've known Michelle and her brother Craig. When he decided to run for the United States Senate, I volunteered, and I was his body guy, and I traveled around with him, and I helped him raise money. And
explain body guy, because we weren't sure about that.
Or as the mayor says now, body person.
Body person. I was essentially his personal valet. I would get his granola. I'd get his food ready. I would pick up his daughters. I'd go to Subway for him and get his healthy meals. And before anyone thought he would ever be president or United States Senator, he's always been my friend. So to see him inspire folks last night the way he inspired me as a 20-something-year-old kid to run for office was really exciting. And to see Michelle, the former First Lady, just deliver a knockout speech was incredible. And I think that's the difference between our parties. You have Barack Obama and Michelle Obama who inspire the next generation of leaders, and you have someone like Donald Trump who inflames a lot of the vitriol and negativity. So if Democrats can continue to talk about policy and how we're going to make people's everyday lives better, we have a very strong argument to make.
Earlier in our 5 o'clock hour, we were doing a story about the vendors and how quickly they were able to turn around these T-shirts with Michelle Obama's message of hope. And it seems like it's already resonating. So, Mayor, when you talk about this, I know this is one that you said that stood out to you from her message, and it seems like one that continues the theme from years ago when they were in office.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, hope and change was their big theme, right? And Michelle said last night, hope is making a comeback. I think what they wanted to convey to folks is we have to get back to basics. We have to be thinking about our neighbors. We have to be thinking about our families. And elected officials have to reflect the lived experience of the average man, woman, and child. And if they do that, they're going to connect with people. They're going to heal a lot of wounds. And I agree with Alexi. I thought her speech, and I texted to many people on her team, pitch perfect. She projected the positive imagery that you need, and she did a masterful takedown of Trump with maybe mention his name one time.
Right, exactly. I think it was even the former president who said, I made a big mistake trying to follow up my wife.
That's exactly right.
I had a Republican friend, very close friend, and a very staunch Republican, called me twice and said, that was unbelievable. I recorded it, and I played it for my grandkids. And I thought that was a very powerful message to get from a pretty strong Republican. I didn't ask him if it's going to change his vote, but the fact that he recorded for his grandkids is remarkable.
Your political path has been very interesting. You ran for Senate in 2010, and then you sort of fell off the radar a little bit. Now you're back as Secretary of State. I don't expect an answer, but I guess I'll ask it in a way that maybe will give you some options. If J.B. Pritzker decides not to run for governor, if Dick Durbin decides not to run for Senate, are these positions you'd be interested in?
It's a sort of a cheesy answer, but it's the God's honest truth. I love being Secretary of State. If something opens up in the future, would I look at it? Absolutely. I love state government. I think there's a lot of good we can do continue to do in Springfield. So would I look at it? Yes. But I truly, Jesse White told me, there's a reason I did this for 24 years. It's the best job in the United States of America. And we get to impact a lot of people's lives, do it behind the scenes, bring in modernization, fight against book bans as the state librarian, bring new businesses, create revenue, do it in a bipartisan way. So it's an outstanding job, and we've run a great office. So I'm just excited about an honor to be the Secretary of State.
There have been a lot of changes since you've been in there in this leadership role, particularly ones that are annoyances for, the DMV and having special days for seniors and doing some of this online. Is there anything on the horizon that you can tell us that is next in your game plan?
We have a lot, and my team's going to kill me, so I don't want to spoil too much, but we're looking at mobile IDs, mobile driver's license, continue to open senior centers. We've got electronic notaries for the first time. We've got a lot of interesting things coming within the next 6 months and within the next year that are going to be transformative, bringing new technology, but never forgetting our seniors. And I could not be more excited about what we're doing legislatively and within the office. So it's a great office.
I told Alexi, it's not exactly in his lane, but if he were to bring back the admissions testing to the city of Chicago, he'll be a hero for many. So.
I always listen to when Lori tells me to do stuff. So.
Well, I know we were talking about Oprah. We've been talking about big names, celebrity, and even speakers within the political realm that were not initially on the schedule that we're hearing about last minute. And Mayor, you were saying to us before that you see this momentum, this energy, people wanting to be a part of this, even be at the convention that didn't want to before. So do you see this sort of as a unique experience in that it's evolving every day, almost by the hour? People are raising their hand and saying, now I want to be up there at the podium.
Look, I've been in gatherings all over the city this entire convention week, and there's a level of excitement and energy amongst people from all parts of the country that is really, really infectious. And I think if you're somebody who's a celebrity that may have been on the fence before, you want to be a part of this wave. You want to burnish your brand by saying, I was there, I was a part of this history, because I really do think history will be made. I feel very optimistic about our chances. A lot of hard work between now and Election Day. But I think people are like, okay, I'm going to be a part of this moment. Now, the truth is, conventions are always fluid till they're not, and you're always negotiating with who is going to be on, who's not. I agree with a comment that Pat Brady made earlier that you don't want it to be so celebrity heavy, but if you're somebody who cares about being in the moment, this is the place to be.
Mayor, your political path has been interesting. If J.B. Pritzker decides not to run, or Dick Durbin decides not to run.
Same question.
Yeah.
No, I'm done. I love politics. I love serving. but there's lots of different ways in which you can serve. It is going to be interesting. Dick Durbin probably announces in January, my prediction, he's not going to run for another term. There's a lot of pent-up interest in that position, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I don't think anybody that knows what the governor's plan is going to be. I was hoping, frankly, he'd hint at it a little bit last night, but he didn't. He just, kept it straight down the middle and focused on the election at hand. But there's a lot of really good, dedicated servants in this state, and we're looking at one right here.
Right. Let me ask you one other. Is it possible that you might get a call from Kamala Harris if she wins for a position in her administration?
Listen, anything is possible. As I've joked, I'm not sure I can get through a Senate confirmation, given my pointed opinion about many things. But look, if the president calls you and asks you to serve, you serve.
So that would be a yes.
You serve.
Okay. Oh, as we're talking about the governor here, I want to talk about his speech last night. He had, some clips that have gone viral, particularly take it from a billionaire. Who knows?
Don't look at me.
But your thoughts on, he's able to say things that are said differently than the Obamas, but he says it in a way that really resonates with the delegates here. Your thoughts?
I thought he gave a great speech. Again, comparing people to Barack and Michelle, that's like, Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson, right? So they're like the best to ever have done it. I thought the governor was great, and I think he found a way to get under Trump's skin. He likes to think he's a billionaire, and I think that was an interesting tussle. Again, this is fun, and to the mayor's point, it's exciting, and we have celebrities, but I really think if Democrats can talk about the economy and how we're going to make your life better, how we're going to fight inflation, why Democrats are actually better for business and for the economy, I think we're going to win this election.
Well, let's talk strategy for just a second, because I'd like to get both of you on this. What do you both run campaigns? What do you think Harris and Walz need to do tactically moving forward? Because by all means, despite the energy in this room tonight, this could be very close come November.
Well, mission one is reunify the Democratic Party. Bring everybody together, and I think they're accomplishing that. And I was talking to somebody today. This is the first time that Democrats have been together in this setting in 8 years. And so there's a lot of camaraderie, renewing old ties. So I think people are going to go out of this convention feeling super energized. But that's not enough. They've got to make sure that they've got a great field game all across the country, particularly in those swing states. We've got to get people out to vote. Elections, as we both know, are simple math equations. More of mine than of the other guy. And they've got to make sure that those core voters are turning out. They've got to speak to the swing voters. They've got to get the independents, the Republicans that are never Trumpers. They've got to get them to the polls to vote.
And I would say a focus on choice, reminding people of what the Republican Party stands for now, which is taking away women's rights, literally. So I think choice is a huge deal. And again, back on the economy, union voters, middle-class voters. Donald Trump and the Republican Party, their focus is on tax cuts for the largest corporations and the wealthiest. That's why I think Kamala's background, Barack and Michelle's points about who's going to fight for you on economic issues. Again, the people who are voting against their own self-interest, poor, lower-income folks who think that they're Trumpers, they should not be. Donald Trump does not care about poor people. That's their policies do not care about poor people, and I think we have to get those middle-class voters. We have to focus on the economy, and we have to talk about choice and everything it represents, the rights that we're taking away from women. Again, I have 4 daughters. They are living in a country where they have less rights than my 80-year-old mother had. I mean, it's crazy.
So a woman told me today, which she was right. She was from New York and Pennsylvania. 2 women I was talking to. They put together the infrastructure in 2016. It got reactivated over the course of Trump's first term. They're ready to go, and they've been that infrastructure's there. They literally, got on some Zoom calls, got people together and organized. And I think Alexi's 100% right. The only 2 things that these folks should be talking about from now on Election Day is choice and the economy. Period. Full stop. And let the surrogates do some of the nibbling around the edges at Trump and Vance, and I'm happy to join in that fun. But the main candidates, Harris and Walz, keep introducing themselves to the country. Talk about choice. Talk about the pocketbook issues, because Alexi's right. Working families, union families. This is the party that works for them.
And I would even add to that, again, I get the politics and the fun of it. I'm not into the whole calling people weird, calling people old, calling people the funny memes. I get that. But to the mayor's point, choice, the economy, dealing with inflation, I think these are winning strategy for a majority of Americans. So let's stay on message. The funny comments and making fun of people, I get that the back and forth. But let's focus on policy. And on policy, this election should be a landslide.
Well, Secretary Bayer, thank you both.
Honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.